My name is Luka. I live on the second floor. I live upstairs from you. Yes, I think you've seen me before. If you hear something late at night, some kind of trouble, some kind of fight, just don't ask me what it was. Just don't ask me what it was. Just don't ask me what it was. I think it's 'cause I'm clumsy. I try not to talk too loud. Maybe it's because I'm crazy. I try not to act too proud. And they only hit until you cry. And after that, you don't ask why. You just don't argue anymore. You just don't argue anymore. You just don't argue anymore. Yes, I think I'm okay. I walked into the door again. Well, if you ask, that's what I'll say. It's not your business anyway. I guess I'd like to be alone with nothing broken, nothing broke. Just don't ask me how I am. Just don't ask me how I am. Just don't ask me how I am. My name is Luka. I live on the second floor. I live upstairs from you. Yes, I think you've seen me before. If you hear something late at night, some kind of trouble, some kind of fight, just don't ask me what it was. Just don't ask me what it was. Just don't ask me what it was. And they only hit until you cry. And after that, you don't ask why. You just don't argue anymore. You just don't argue anymore. You just don't argue anymore.
Well, she didn't, fortunately, and millions of her new fans around the world have clearly shown that it was the right move. So would you please welcome back to the show the lady with the songs, Suzanne Vega. Thank you for that. It was, I was going to say a delightful song, but in fact it's a tough song. You wouldn't normally think. It's on Suzanne's latest album, Solitude Standing, and it has been a bestseller here and around the world, but a song about a 9-year-old who's battered, a 9-year-old child battered, is not normally a pop song, is it?
No, it isn't, and I must say that when the record company said that they were thinking of releasing it as a single, I was extremely dubious. You know, I was wondering how it would do, and I didn't have any expectations that it would go sailing up into the top 40, which it seems to have done that almost in every country that it's been released in.
Was it written from experience or from something you read?
It was written, well, it was based on a real boy that I had known in New York City, whose name was Luka and who did live upstairs from me, but in fact he was not battered as far as I know. You know, so I sort of took the liberty of taking his name and his character, because I never expected that it would be, you know, become as popular as it did.
Yes.
But it certainly is a problem in America that a lot of people are becoming more aware about.
I guess, you know, comparisons are odious, as they say, but the comparisons are made with Bob Dylan and you name it, with the best of the folkies. I mean, do you like that, or do you think that, no, that's a different generation or a different person, I'm me?
Well, of course, I have a tendency to think, you know, that I like to think of myself as being separate and having my own personality. But I was certainly influenced by Bob Dylan and by Joni Mitchell and by most of the acoustic, you know, singer-songwriters of the 60s and 70s.
Do you think folk, to be called a folk singer, as called a country singer, is a pejorative word, that it's a put down? I mean, do you like to call yourself simply a singer, or do you like these tags?
Well, I guess I
feel that it's my job to avoid, descriptions. I'm always trying to sort of wiggle out of them.
Yeah.
But I do feel a connection to the folk scene, especially the folk scene in New York City, which is still going strong. It had been going strong since the mid-'60s when Dylan was there, and it continued through the '70s and into the '80s. It's been sort of an underground scene for a long time, but now it seems to be coming back up again, where people are calling themselves folk musicians more readily than they did for a while. I think for a while it was like a bad name.
Yes.
But I think it's changing.
Do you find that I read that you were writing since you were 14, basically writing songs, but were you writing poetry at that stage that became songs, or did you set out to become a songwriter?
Well, I'd always written poetry ever since I was, 7 or 8 and this kind of thing, but I think once I started writing songs, I stopped writing in my writing poetry in my notebook. To me, there's something very special that happens when you sit down with your guitar and try and write a song. The words come out in a way that they wouldn't come out if I were just trying to write in my notebook. There's something very special happens with the music.
I don't like the word pretty, but I mean, you don't write pretty songs so much as you write relevance, probably too tough. But I mean, is there a message there? Do you really try to get a message through your songs? Or are you simply expressing something in you?
Well, I am expressing usually feelings. I guess if I have a message, it's that I feel that each individual life is very important, and sometimes people forget that, I think. In America, it's good to be really big, and I think when people become too big, you lose touch with the real people, with small people, with people who maybe are not as articulate and can't speak up for themselves. I think in most of my songs I try and dig out the points of view that haven't been heard from, or from, especially speaking from people's points of view who can't speak for themselves.
Yes, the 2 albums have had only your material. Do you only sing your stuff?
At this point, I try to sing only my own stuff because I think of myself more as a writer than I do a singer, actually. So I'm always trying to write new things, and I tend to concentrate on that.
Was it a case where, I mean, again, like so many of the American folkies, was it a case where the Europeans discovered you before your own people?
Yeah, when the first album came out, it did really well in Europe, and especially in England, where it really took off there. And I guess it kind of laid the groundwork for the second record. So the second record did wonderfully in America.
Yes. Can you understand, you've just come from Japan, you were telling me a moment ago, but can you understand the attraction? Can you understand, does it still bemuse you that you sing in front of Japanese and they are so adoring of you, and they take to the records? Such a different culture?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of things that translate. I mean, I think there's a lot about the Japanese style that I incorporate into my songs. Actually, they're sort of small, compact songs, and I think, they're very precise images, and I think there's something in the Japanese that likes that identifies with it, and I think they like the sound of my voice, I think that's what it is.
Yes. You were telling me a little earlier, tell us the story of the hotel, at the hotel each morning. Oh,
no, yeah, I was just saying that the Japanese fans are really reserved when you're playing to them. They'll applaud politely, and they'll save all their applause for the end of the show. But then when you get to the hotel, they'll be sort of camped out in the lobby. They're waiting for you to come down every morning and offering you presents and taking your picture and doing everything except moving in with you, practically. It's nice.
Suzanne, I read as well that you have this fascination or interest in Madonna at the moment. Is it the packaging of Madonna?
Madonna.
The packaging, the way they've packaged Madonna, or in the American culture, or what was the interest? Or have you been misreported?
I don't think I have a fascination with her. I do read all her interviews because I think she's funny. I think she's, and I think she's candid.
But do you think it's been packaged in the way she dresses, the way she performs and so on? Is that part of the whole record packaging scene, or is that just Madonna?
I think she's done it herself. I think she's pretty decisive about what she wears and her clothes and all that sort of thing. I don't buy her records, or I mean, I don't listen to her songs for the content, but I think she's interesting to look at. Yeah.
What do you think? I had read. Yes, I'd read this. That was that you had this great interest. But what do you think is the issue? Is there a single issue that, from your New York perspective, that troubles you at the moment in the world or in life? Something that you think is predominant?
Well, I guess mostly what I would say before. When you grow up in the city, it's easy to feel, especially as a child, that you're overlooked, or that your point of view doesn't really matter, or that you only count when you're big and powerful.
Yes.
And I guess that's the main thing that I'm always trying to sort of bring home. is that people's points of view, no matter how small they are still unique and still interesting.
Yes.
I mean, there are other things, I suppose, also that concern me. You know, the environment and a lot of the nuclear things that have been happening lately are, you know, they concern me. But I haven't started started writing about them yet.
Yes. All right, we thank you very much indeed for playing for us and singing for us and to talking to us. You can see Suzanne Vega and her band tonight at the Sydney Town Hall in Melbourne on the 23rd and 24th of September, in Adelaide, and then 2 shows across in Perth on September the 28th. Would you please thank Suzanne Vega?